One time I had this really rude math teacher, like she would always yell at us for no reason and everyone in the class wanted to get revenge on her. She was really short, like 3 feet tall, so whenever she would write on the whiteboard she would need to stand on a chair. One day when she was writing on the whiteboard and she was standing on a chair, I went up behind her and yanked the chair away and she went flying. This bitch went 984 miles per hour. She started orbiting like the aliens were gonna take her away. She landed and was unconscious, so the other teachers rushed into the room and called the ambulance. Since nobody liked this annoying bitch, we just said that she fell off of her chair when she was writing. The paramedics took her away and we still haven't confessed to the police that it was us, and we probably never will since we don't give a fuck about her. She hasn't come back to the school ever since, and this happened like 2 months ago, so me and my classmates are hoping that she died.
One time I was in class when the teacher announced the new wolf girl. Her name was Kathy Coatfur. She sat next to me and started licking her paw while sniffing her hoodie vigorously. Our teacher named Miss Armstead walked in and announced that we are going camping in the woods, and Kathy Coatfur started howling out the window. We got on the bus and Kathy sat next to me and started sniffing my hoodie while drooling on my arm. Then she sat on the bus floor and started scratching behind her ear with her foot. We arrived at the forest and she ran out on all fours with her tongue out. We were setting up our tents and Kathy Coatfur ran into the woods on all fours. I told Miss Armstead that Kathy ran deep into the woods, and she started to make tribal maneuvers. It was getting dark and Miss Armstead started to get worried, so she set out a search party, and that's when we looked up and noticed it was a full moon. The quiet kid whispered, "Oh fuck," and that's when we heard an unsettling noise. The search party ran into the direction of the howling, and that's when we saw Kathy Coatfur naked on all fours while 4 wolves were circling her. I think she was in heat. The camp ranger tried to take Kathy back to the campsite, and she started growling and saying she's trying to start a litter. We lured her into a cage with some raw meat and then brought her back to the campsite. The trip was cut short and we all called her Canine Kathy the whole ride back. It turns out the wolves had bowel cancer. One time I was in class when our teacher announced the new Australian exchange student. Her name was Tina Tim Tam. She walked into class wearing a bucket hat while holding a fishing rod. She then pulled out a bag of shrimp from her pouch and said they're fresh off the Barbie. Our teacher named Miss Snag announced a field trip to the outback, and Tina Tim Tam started shoving spoonfuls of Milo up her ass, then wiping it with a slice of fairy bread. We got on the bus and Tina Tim Tam started watching The Real Housewives of Melbourne while eating a box of fish and chips. We arrived to the outback and Tina Tim Tam said fair dinkum and began walking over to a prohibited bush. Miss Snag was doing a head count when she realized one student was missing, and I told her Tina Tim Tam walked into the prohibited area. Miss Snag put her finger in a jar of Vegemite, then shoved her finger up her ass, then wiped her finger on a slice of bread and started eating it in fear. We rushed over to the prohibited bush and saw a sign that said beware, brown snakes live here, and Miss Snag started crushing beer cans on her head. We ran into the snake pit and saw Tina Tim Tam naked on the floor with half her body inside of a snake. Miss Snag started fisting the snake to get it to stop eating Tina, and it spat her out on the sand and slithered away. The snake had apparently bitten Tina Tim Tam's asshole, so Miss Snag arched Tina's back and began sucking the venom out. The trip was cut short and we all called our teacher ass sucker Snag the whole ride back, and it turns out the snake had bowel cancer.
One time it was Christmas and my legal guardian took me to the mall to take a photo with the fake Santa that sits in the middle of the shopping center. I was waiting in the line with all the disgusting snot-nosed bastards when the abnormally obese Santa arrived. I suddenly became violently hungry, so I told my legal guardian to stay put while I go purchase and devour a bean burrito. I ate that shit like I was in a competition, then I confidently strutted back to the line. There were 2 kids left in front of us and I was losing my patience, so I struck one of them in the back of the head. The revolting child in front of me finished his photo, so I opened the gate with my chin up and began catwalking to Santa's abnormally large leg. I threw it back on his leg and I was ready to take the photo, when suddenly I didn't feel too good. I just remembered I'm disgustingly allergic to bean burritos, and that's when my stomach started to beatbox. Santa said say cheese, and that's when my abnormally tight hole expanded and began pouring out my bean shit like a tap faucet. Santa started going ho 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 ho, and that's when the cameraman started recording and taking photos. The bean shit was spraying everywhere like a busted pipe, and it began painting the walls. I started slowly yet erotically levitating from the force, causing the shit to pour on Santa, making him look like Bigfoot, and all I could hear were the camera clicks. I lost about 30 kilos and slowly floated down back into Santa's mushy lap, and there were families crying and hiding in the mall's bomb shelter. The photos developed and my parents framed them and hung them all over the house, and the Santa always hits me up every time I eat a bean burrito so I can sit on his lap again. It turns out I had bowel cancer.
One time when I was 10 I went on Omegle because I was a loser and had no friends. I used the video chat option and everyone kept skipping me, until someone didn't. His screen was black. I said hi but he only responded through the Omegle text. I said why aren't you talking and showing yourself, and he said he's very shy. He told me his name was Jeremy and he is also 10 years old. We were just chatting about school and stuff, when he suddenly asked me for my address. I didn't think twice about it and I literally sent him my entire address, and then it said stranger has disconnected. A few days passed and I didn't think anything of it, until a letter slipped under our front door. It said from Jeremy in big letters. My mom was in the shower so I opened it up and it said hi, it's Jeremy, I'm coming over tonight so we can hang out. I literally got so excited so I ran upstairs and started wearing my clothes that didn't have stains. My mom finished showering and asked me why I'm wearing my church clothes, and I told her a friend is coming over. The doorbell rang and my mom dramatically gasped and said, "But you have no friends." And I said, "That was until today, bitch." And I strutted towards the front door. I put my hand on the doorknob and that's when my mom screamed, "Wait." One time I had a crush on this guy named Austin. He was sexy and just my type, football player, blonde hair, blue eyes, etc. I really wanted to start talking to him, but first I went through his socials to see what he liked so I can get an idea of his personality, and I found out he was country and liked country girls. So I decided to give myself a makeover. I ordered some very authentic Alabama clothes straight from the South and bleached my hair until it was fried just like the girls he follows. I look really bad, but at least I'll be getting some country eggplant. The next day at school I decided to approach him during physics class because we had to work in groups of 5 and it worked out perfectly. We started talking and got to know each other a little bit, and then we started talking daily. We became pretty close friends. A month passes by and homecoming was coming up soon, so I asked if he was gonna go and he said he was, so I thought it would be perfect to confess my feelings that night. Then skip to the night of homecoming. I put on my favorite dress and heels and made sure I looked good. I arrived to the school and meet up with my friends to wait for Austin. An hour passed by and I got worried, so I walked to the bathroom to call him. I opened the door to see my crush doing it with his mom in the girls' bathroom at school. I went off on him for bullying me behind my back and for also ditching me at homecoming. I ran away crying. It turns out he was in love with his mom instead. I went outside to calm down and I saw my economics teacher, Mr. Smith, walk over to me. He asked me what was wrong and I told him the whole story and he comforted me. We ditched homecoming and went to his house to Netflix and chill. The next week at school we had an assembly because there were rumors about a student going out with a teacher, and I was like, oh shit. Then the whole SWAT team barged into the gym and arrested Mr. Smith cause there was evidence that we streamed and creamed all over his bedroom, and now I'm in DILF rehab.
So one day, I was in class and I was sat next to the weird girl Cara Mitford, and we were doing some French work, bonjour madame, and then out of the corner of my eye I saw Cara Mitford picking chewed gum off the table and then eating it. I felt sick and started hyperventilating and I was like, what the fuck cluck duck muck pluck sharp bart fart mart shit nit get hit. She was fiddling with the gum like it was a fucking slime machine, cream make me scream toy. Anyways, I started feeling a rumble in my tummy and then I was sick everywhere due to Cara Mitford's disgusting habits. The vomit was so powerful it lifted me in the air and I kicked Cara in the face. That bitch started choking on her mangled gum and she was coughing like the madman on Alice in Wonderland. She then slumped down on her desk. She died. Anyways, I was now shouting all over the teacher. Her name was Mrs. Slap My Ass Like the Drum, and then I fell out of the window and landed on a pussy. Anyways, turns out, Cara, my teacher, the pussy I landed on, and me all have bowel cancer.
So I had this friend called Betty Sweetie, and she would always hiss at me like she was a fucking cat. I was so sick of this bullshit because she did it every day, and some days she would even scratch me with her long ass nails. She crawled around the class and refused to eat the school meals because it wasn't cat food. No one wanted to be her friend, but my mom forced me to invite her over. So I waited for her outside school, and obviously she came out on her hands and knees. She squatted down in the car and it looked like she was pissing on the seat. Anyways, we got to my house and she immediately doubled the cat food that was on the floor. But then something weirder happened. I saw her upstairs and she was twerking on my head Cyrandul. I said, what the fuck? And she jumped out the window and she thought she would land on her feet. But that bitch landed on her back. She violently broke her back. The cat was dead. Her skin shed. We all celebrated with bread. Betty Sweetie was gone for good and our school threw a party. But her ghost still haunts me and my head Cyrandul. Turns out my heady widdy doll has bowel cancer.
One day I was on Tinder. I was single as fuck, so I wanted to find someone to mingle with. I met this really hot dude and started messaging him. He said that I was so sexy and he wanted a shag with me. I said, okay daddy, meet me at the bridge tomorrow at noon for a quick shag. So the next day I messaged him and told him to get ready for our creamy meetup. He said okay and I started walking to the bridge. When I got there I saw my teacher. I was like, oh hello sir, what are you doing here? And he replied with, I'm meeting my Tinder date. I was thinking OMG, what the fuck, he's a catfish. I said, oh me too, and then I quickly knocked him to the floor and we shagged. Surprisingly, it wasn't that bad. At school the next day he said, oh hello Baba Grill, and then he started doing sexy web dance and all the girls were drooling. Anyways, we are now married with 10 kids because we love shagging and we have 3 dogs. 9 cats including mine, wink wink, and 1 dick. Sorry, I meant 1 hamster. Haha. But then one day he started shaking uncontrollably, and no, it wasn't from me. I dumped him because he was like 69 years old and that bitch was all wrinkled and crinkled. Anyways, I married my cousin and we shagged. Turns out my ex-husband aka my teacher has bowel cancer from my pussy power.
One day it was my birthday and it was a school day. I decided to bring in a bag of sweets to hand out to everyone. I gave a packet of love hearts to my crush. His name was Barry, by the way, and winked at him. Anyways, I started hearing a loud rumble. I looked around at the class and saw my crush turning green. I said, what the fuck? He shot into the air and starts doing the walk dance. The whole school started shaking because my crush was letting set out faster than how I did your mom last night. Anyway, the whole classroom looked like the fucking Willy Wonka factory, and this one ugly bit of
started licking the shit that was on the walls. Then my teacher started whining. Everyone was drooling because it tasted so nice. I whined in and put the cack on my face like it was a Christmas. It smoothed my skin so much I definitely recommend. Anyways, I got a knife and stabbed my Chris. He exploded and all his guts were over me. We took his corpse to the graveyard and buried him. We sang a song in his honor now from that I make it drought that's a what it a bucket and a mock that's a what I'm talking what that's a what. We all danced to the song and my teacher posted it on Facebook with the caption, "Welcome all slump for Barry, everyone is welcome." Anyways, turns out Barry had bowel cancer.
One day I went to the hospital. I was visiting my great uncle because he had bowel cancer, diabetes, nipple piercing rash, the black plague, heart disease, pneumonia, arthritis, coronavirus, tuberculosis, asthma, werewolf syndrome, saggy willy disease and small dick syndrome. He was 69 years of age and he was very ill as you can tell. He was slowly dying, so before he died, my mom wanted to do one last thing altogether. We went to a water park. Like what the actual fuck? He is literally almost dead. Anyways, we were going down the spank me daddy slide when all of a sudden, my great uncle let out the most sloppy, gloppy, willy is floppy, snobby bobby, ploppy, sag sag, nag nag, shit. It smeared all over the water slide walls, and it got mixed into the pool at the bottom of the slide. The shit flew onto our heads and our hair. It took me 3,384 showers to get it out. It was that powerful. Anyways, my great uncle started crying and then he suddenly drowned. I tried to do CPR but he started having a heart attack. He later died that day. Did I tell you he had WAP syndrome? It stands for wonky ass penis. Peace out.
One time I was in school and I had this one teacher that always got on my last motherfucking nerves. The bitch kept picking on me for no reason. She would give us these big ass crispy fucking packets of work and I'm not gonna lie, I was not doing them shits. It was too much like, oh, you're not my only goddamn teacher, but eventually I started doing them and she always had to pick on me by taking a point off for every little thing. She wasn't doing that to the other students that were making the same minor mistake like forget to put your last name and the date and little shit like that. And then on top of that she kept calling my mom for every little thing. She also told me I would never be successful. One day I was so sick of this prissy fish looking big body little head ashy ass bitch of a teacher, so one day, when she wasn't in the room, I drew all over her board with a permanent Sharpie marker. I carefully took all the papers off her desk and put them under the desk scattered. Then I unplugged the computer and yanked the fuck out of a cord so that the computer wouldn't work, and since it's school property she would probably have to pay for it. I don't give one fuck if what I did was too extreme. She shouldn't have gave me a hard ass time every day.
Like, one time I was like, severely horny. I can get so horny that I become violent. One time I was at school minding my business, doing some work and whatnot, when the horniness kicked in. My teacher saw me in distress so she walked over to help me, and that's when I tackled her to the floor and started humping her. She started screaming, and a teacher walking by ran in and separated us. I said I didn't do anything wrong, please let me go, it's medical. The teacher insisted I go to the principal's office, so I did. The principal told me even though I can't help it, I have to control it and not do it anymore. I said okay and I started walking back to class, when I saw my teacher walking to refill her water. I walked up to her about to apologize, when the same rush of horn bursted through my veins. I violently tackled her again and the same teacher separated us again. I got expelled and my teacher is now a raging alcoholic in rehab because of me. It turns out the violent horniness is the main symptom to bowel cancer.
So one day, me and my bestie go to this water park, and I was bursting for a piss. So we finish at the water park and we grab an ice cream. This ice cream was so nice and creamy. It was a cream machine, not filled with a spleen, not mean, aquamarine. Anyways, I went to the toilet and put 50p in the slot. Let me just remind you, it said the toilet was vacant, so I pulled the door open and I looked inside. Someone was in there pissing. I was like, what the fuck? I saw a man and I also saw his Willy Wonka chocolate punker feeling bonkers. You're a plunker. He quickly shouted, someone's in here. I was like, how the fuck am I meant to know? It said it's empty. I shut the door ASAP. I was traumatized for life. On the way back to the car, I saw a pad. The end.
All better buckle up because this one's a ride. One day when I was 11, my mom let me use her laptop so I can study for my classes and shit. I got so bored while studying, so I decided to go on some frisky websites. Until this ad popped up. It said, congratulations, you've won a free MacBook Pro. Click here to claim it. I thought, OMG, holy shit, I got a free laptop. Now I won't have to use my mom's and she won't have to save money to buy me one. So I clicked claim. It redirected me to a blank page and then everything went frozen. I couldn't click out of it or shut off the laptop and I started freaking out. Not because I thought something bad was happening, no, I was freaking out because I thought someone else was gonna claim the laptop before me. The camera started flashing indicating that it was turned on, and I started hysterically crying because I thought it meant that someone else claimed it. My mom heard me hyperventilating, so she ran into the room in a panic, and she found me slobbering on her laptop while the screen was blank. She ran over and hugged me and asked what's wrong, and that's when we heard a dark low demonic voice from the laptop say, we found you, before it shut off and wouldn't turn back on.
It was Halloween one year and we were handing out candy to the little undeserving bastard shits that knocked on our door. This one fat ginger bitch knocked on the door and of course she chose the biggest candy bar in the bucket and she said she wants another one. I said listen here you tubby orange bitch, you get one fucking candy bar, you don't look like you need another one. She grabbed another candy bar from the bucket and started laughing at me and I said to her, if you weren't in a costume I would think you were the grand pumpkin you giant orange bitch. She took her shoe off and threw it at my face, and that's when I lunged at her and tackled her off the balcony. I started pulling at her orange haystack hair and she started screaming for her dad. Her dad dragged me off the little ginger bitch and he yelled at me saying who the hell beats up a 7-year-old. I said me you old twat and I took her entire bucket of candy and walked inside. The cops came over and I started fake crying saying she attacked me first and I was defending myself, and my dog was agreeing and defending me. The police went to the tubby ginger thot's house and shot it up. That's what you get for messing with me you expanded Ed Sheeran looking bitch.
One day I went skiing with my friend Lucy McCoochie. When me and Lucy McCoochie arrived at the skiing resort we got checked in and everything and were ready to go. I have been skiing before but Lucy McCoochie has not. We were both nervous as fuck but we counted to 3 and then went. I was going good but all of a sudden I saw Lucy McCoochie fly across the sky. I thought she was an airplane. That hoe started flying across the sky like she was a crow or some shit. The birds started to fly with her because they thought she was a bird also. She landed and she started rolling down the hill like 324 miles per hour like calm down burrito taquito mosquito wannabe. Lucy McCoochie started to go zoom zoom vroom vroom boom boom bam pow whack whack vroom zoom pow whip papa paratatata help me. She then slid into a tree just how she slid into 34 men's DMs. Sorry off topic. She started to cry and yell, ouch my zakuchi woochie poochie McCoochie moochie noochie juchie suchi buchi luchi zambuchi hurts. She broke her coochie. It didn't smell fruity, it was very juicy, it smelled like sushi, it was very bloody. Her McCoochie zambuchi burned and we were very concerned. We rushed her to the hospital and the doctors told us that she has itchy burny coochie cancer. One day I decided to invite this kinda weird girl over to my house as no one ever wanted to hang out with her and I felt a little bit bad. I told her to meet me in this classroom after the last bell went for the end of the day. I walked all the way to the classroom and she wasn't there. I was really confused as that's where I told her to go. At this point I was bursting for a piss cause the old fat teacher named Pat didn't let me go during the lesson. I made the decision to go to the toilet and maybe she would be there when I got back. When I got to the toilet, there was someone in one of the cubicles having the biggest shit ever. It stunk of moldy eggs, clothing pegs, hairy legs, picture frame, really lame, my idol.
Charlie Grace Stimulant.
Touchy-feelio, bug-infested rat, ugly hat, wet dog, greasy fog, shiny spoon, the cow jumped over the moon, loud fan, white van, stinky feet, your outfit is neat, flying bird, donkey turd, deep sleep, big leap, shit started to seep under the cubicle door. I screamed and jumped onto the sinks and asked who it was. It was Toenail Tabby, the girl who was meant to come round to my house. In that moment I was so glad she didn't do that in my house, otherwise we would have had to live on the streets as the plumbing bill would have been like $1 million. I had to walk her up to medical covered in her own shit as I couldn't just leave her there. Her mom picked her up and took her home. The next day she wasn't in school as it turns out she didn't have bowel cancer, but shitty stinky runniitis.
One day I was playing Roblox. A few minutes later I met this guy in Adopt Me. We became friends. Then a little later we started dating. I gave him my number and we started texting. He wanted to FaceTime but I had to go to my grandma's house so I told him I would FaceTime later. Either way I was a little nervous to FaceTime. Okay, anyway I got to my grandma's house and I decided to bring my laptop because I still wanted to play Adopt Me with my boyfriend. I noticed that my grandma was on her phone the whole time. She literally never goes on her phone. Like when I went to say hi to her she literally slapped me and told me to go away. Like bitch chill out, what did I do? Anyway I went to join Adopt Me and I saw that my boyfriend was online. I joined and gave him a free giraffe. A second later my grandma jumps 5 feet in the air and she screamed yippee yappy wappy hoo ha hey and she fell on her back. That was the moment I realized I was dating my own grandma. She got rushed to the hospital. A day later my mom told me she died. We went to her funeral. It was going normal until all of a sudden I hear the Adopt Me music coming from her funeral casket. I have a story. One day in 5th grade we were on a field trip. On the bus I was sitting next to this weird girl named Patty McBerry. For some fucking reason Patty was so excited about the trip. We were going to a fucking museum. What the actual fuck, who likes museums? They are so fucking boring. Anyways, halfway through the trip Patty McBerry started coughing viciously. She had a seizure due to overexcitement. She was shaking from happiness for the rest of the ride. When we got there Patty McBerry ran out of that bus faster than coronavirus spreads. She fainted because she was so excited. The tour guide had to hold on to Patty while he showed us around because she was too hyper. Out of nowhere, Patty McBerry broke free and ran right to the live animal section. She went to the gorilla's enclosure and smushed her face against the cage wall. Then out of nowhere she starts climbing up the fucking wall. Patty McBerry jumped into the enclosure and tackled the gorilla out of excitement. The gorilla ate Patty and she died.
When I was younger I was in Walmart and I was eating a tube of Pringles and I ate them while my mom paid but I forgot to let the guy scan them so I walked out the Walmart and the alarm went off and I just started running because I got scared and my mom couldn't find me because I was hiding behind the newspaper things and the Walmart people called the police because I was missing and when I hear them show up I thought I was a criminal so I left my mom a note on the newspaper that said I went to Mexico to start a new life and not come looking for me and then I took off running with my Pringles and ran for like an hour and then the cops saw me walking down the road road, so they pulled over, so I started running again, and then they were using the car intercom thing and they told me to stop running. So when I did, I thought they were gonna put me in handcuffs and take me to jail, so I was crying and I slapped the officer in the stomach and tried to run again, but he just held me back, and when he asked me what happened to me and I told him, he started crying because he was laughing so hard. And he just gave my mom $2 for the Pringles, and he was still laughing when he left. And that's the time I was a wanted criminal.
One day I was getting ready for school because it was picture day. I had just got new makeup from Easter. I put my foundation on and I thought I looked cute, even though the foundation shade made me look sunburnt and the eyeshadow was dark orange. Not a good look. I also wore this ugly musty dress. It was green on the top and the sleeves had brown ruffles. I thought I looked so cool, so I went to school. I am still mad at my parents for sending me to school and that. Everyone stared at me while I walked into class, even my teacher. She was telling us to go down to get our pictures taken by our last names, and I went in the beginning since my last name starts with C. I went down and then my stomach started to hurt. I ate McDonald's for breakfast because my parents were too lazy to make breakfast. I honestly started to pray to Whitney Houston that I wouldn't chart. I held my hands to my ass and walked to the photo booth. My stomach started to rumble, grumble, bumble, trumble, numbler, mumble, zumble, mumble. I tried act natural, so I removed my hands from my ass and got ready to take my picture. While I was standing there, I did the most soggy doggy, sounded froggy, came out cloggy, looked loggy, made the room foggy, very soggy. I pulled a Nessa Barrett. It made the school building shake so much to the point people thought there was a level 5 tornado. I shat so much that it covered the camera right when they took the photo. When they realized it was my ass and not a tornado, I was immediately rushed to the emergency room and they diagnosed me with the one and only bowel cancer.
So y'all remember how PE teachers used to make you run a mile in elementary school? Well, boy, do I have a fucking story for you. So I was out on the field running my second lap and my stomach started hurting because my fucking mom decided to buy McDonald's for breakfast. So I asked the teacher if I could go to the bathroom, and that bitch-ass Trump gorilla-looking motherfucker said no, so I just kept running and prayed to Michael Jackson that it would go away. So I'm on my third lap and I have to fart. And on God, I pulled a Nessa Barrett. So much shit came out that I could literally make a 4-course meal with it. And a chocolate fountain for dessert. I was about to fucking cry. Obviously I wasn't gonna tell my teacher that I shit myself, so I just said I felt like I was gonna throw up. So I go to the clinic literally holding my hands on my ass so nobody would see my shit. When I get to the clinic, the nurse tells me to sit down, but in my head I'm like, bitch, if I sit down your chair is gonna look like the chocolate river from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I just lean on the wall until my mom comes to pick me up. When I stand up off the wall to go to the bathroom, my shit is smeared on the wall and the nurse looks at it and she's like, what the fuck? Was that you? And I was like, ew, hell no, and I run to the bathroom and my whole ass had shit on it, and when my mom picked me up I started crying because she asked what smelled like dog shit and she thought she stepped in something and I had to tell her it was my ass.
One sunny morning I woke up in the middle of the night. I sat up and looked around violently, and that's when I felt my finger throbbing. I looked at it and it was filled with a creamy cream, so creamy you could churn it for butter. I ran to my mummy's room in slow motion and told her violently, oh mummy, there's something bad happening to my tummy, and she collapsed in slow motion. She got up rapidly and inspected my thumb, and she had fear in her eyes. She put on her glasses and grabbed an old dusty book and said, I've seen this only once before. It happens so rarely. I said, what could be possessing my thumb with an ungodly cream? And she slammed the book shut. She said, we need to go to the hospital right this instant. We sped to the hospital as fast as we could in slow motion. We arrived violently, and that's when I got brought out on a stretcher. I was taken to the immediate surgery room and they began operating while I was still on the stretcher. She grabbed my hand violently. Oh mummy, my body is starting to feel numby, and she collapsed in slow motion. I'm not ready to die. The surgery lasted for 17 hours and it finally finished. We were in the waiting room sitting violently when the results came in. My mummy opened the envelope to reveal that it was just constipation cream. My mummy spent the rest of the day wiping my bummy.
I used to have this art teacher and everyone hated her. She was the biggest bitch, like she was literally so mean and strict, and for what? What was the reason? Anyways, one day she was really testing my limits and she had the motherfucking audacity to rip up and throw away a project I worked on for a week because she said it quote unquote wasn't good enough and that I never even try in her class. Even though I worked so hard on it and I did the best I could. I was mad at her for saying I didn't ever try and that my work wasn't good enough for her, so I was thinking to myself, shut your bubble gum dum skin tone chicken bone Google Chrome no homo flip phone disowned ice cream cone garden gnome extra chromosome metronome dimidome genome full blown monochrome student loan Indiana Jones overgrown Flintstone X and Y chromosome friendzone Sylvester Stallone Sierra Leone AutoZone friendzone professionally seen silver patron big headed ass up, and out of anger I grabbed my backpack and said no, I am gonna leave, my way or the highway, and I stormed out of that ugly bitch's class and flipped her off on the way out. I deadass ran out of the school and walked all the way home since I lived close to the school. My mom asked me why I was home early and I told her what happened and she was surprisingly proud of me, so proud that she took me out for ice cream. I was suspended for 3 days for doing that, but oh well, fuck that bitch.
One day when I was packing my lunch, my grandpa asked me what I was eating, so I told him I was gonna eat a sandwich, apples and Takis. He asked what Takis were and I said they were spicy chips. He asked to try one, but my grandma told me that if I gave him a Taki I would regret it. I gave him one anyway. When he bit the Taki he jumped 65 feet in the air screaming. He was asking for milk and we gave him milk, but we forgot he was also lactose intolerant. While he was drinking the milk he ran out of the room and tripped on our pet pussy. He started farting and it sounded like we lived next to NASA when a rocket is about to launch. He let out the longest sloppy gloppy bloppy moppy noppy copy loppy floppy sloppy. When he fell I heard his back crackle McFrackle tackle. His back cracked, the cat attacked, roaches get attract, he broke his back, his shit turned abstract, he fell on the floor and couldn't get up no more, he was very sore, he looked like a dead boar. The pussy went bonker yonker plonker knocker conkers. We rushed him to the hospital and found out he died from a ruptured ribcage and explosive diarrhea. We also found out he had lymphedema, type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, bowel cancer, the bubonic plague, the coronavirus, the Spanish flu, tuberculosis, malaria, AIDS, shitworm, measles and polio. One day my teacher announced to the class that we were gonna do a Kahoot. I threw my bag of Cheeto Puffs in the air and screamed because I was so excited. I knew I was going to win the Kahoot. Everyone else looked at me like I was on drugs because of how hyper I was. They all knew that I was gonna win since I have never lost a game of Kahoot before. The game started and I was obviously the first to join. My username was Kahootmaster235 of course. Most people joined and so the teacher started the game. Some people didn't join because they knew I was gonna win. There were 15 questions. I was in the lead but when I saw the leaderboard, this kid with the username You're Gonna Lose Sophia89 was really close behind me. Everyone was cheering them on because they wanted to see me fail. I was like oh hell no ratatata that ain't gonna happen. I couldn't lose my streak of winning. I got the 10th question wrong but You're Gonna Lose Sophia89 got it right so they went up to first place and I went to second. I did well the rest of the game and when it announced the winners, I was in fucking second place and they crippled stretched Ed Sheeran cereal box stanky ho brick eating cockastain mama hippo Jojo Siwa on steroids bitch won. Everyone was applauding them and I realized it was Becky Nucky. I decided since everyone was laughing, I let out the most wubble double bubble hubble nubble mubble pubble lubble cubble zubble shit. It managed to make the school catch on fire. Everyone evacuated and everyone was covered in smoke. Everyone apologized to me for laughing at me. It turned out I had bowel cancer and I had to go to the doctor since my asshole had 3rd-degree burns.